Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
8:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson and Dan Bongino joining us here in studio today. Larry O'Connor has some time off to be with family. Dan, you enjoying your radio, exploration into radio today?
I love it. I've had a great time.
You loved everything except when that alarm clock went off at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's right. Well, you know what we have? We have on the line Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, good friend of this program. I'd like to call him a good personal friend. Ollie, how are you?
Good to be with you, Brian, and Dan. Welcome to the air.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Now, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North is the host, of course, of War Stories over on the Fox News Channel, and he's got a book coming out called Heroes Proved, and I want to say that he's going to do 2 book signings today, 1 o'clock at the Leesburg Costco, and then 5 o'clock this afternoon at the Winchester Costco. I bet you got them lined up around the block there, Ollie.
I'll tell you what, yesterday the book launched in New York, Brian, and it's been just phenomenal. And I think in large part because so much of what the book is about just happens to be happening right now. I mean,
well, talk about the book is called Heroes Proved.
Yeah.
What's it about?
Well, it starts out with a terror attack in which the government lies about who perpetrated it. And defections from the top level of the government, Israel under threat from nuclear weapons and enemies surrounding it, and a catastrophe that's occurring economically in this country. And of course, the thriller mode or genre, if you will, of how do we get out of this pickle we're in. And what's remarkable is I started the book a year and a half ago. It's all happening right now.
Wow.
Could not have foreseen that. Could not have foreseen the controversy that we're experiencing right now, or what really transpired in Benghazi, the kinds of terror that Israel is experiencing right now, all there in the book, quite frankly, hoping it wasn't prophetic, but it turned out to be.
All right, now you worked in the Reagan White House, and you know how this all works. When the CIA sends over talking points, they go through a whole series of vets. People vet them.
Well,
tell me how it works.
It's what we used to call the interagency process. There was a committee that was, in our case, the Terrorist Incident Working Group, if that's the kind of thing it was, or the Crisis Working Group, as it morphed into later on by 1985. And what the interagency process does is make sure that everybody else in the government agrees with what the White House or what a particular agency on a crisis or a terrorist event is going to say about it. In our case, now again, we didn't have the technology then that we've got today. But, these guys had video of this attack that was going down. It was being played live in Washington as it was happening. For whatever reason, they couldn't respond to it, or they didn't. For whatever reason, they decided that they were going to change some of the language in the public statements made about it. Now, let me give you maybe a little different twist on this than what we've already experienced. We're running around in America trying to figure out who tweaked the language in the talking points. I mean, you and I, we've got a lot of our colleagues out there doing this thing. Now, I point out, this is being done by an administration that has described a jihadist terror attack at Fort Hood as, quote, workplace violence. So why we've got Clapper now coming out saying, no, I authorized the change of language from Al-Qaeda to extremist, I don't think that's nearly as important as finding out what was and wasn't done in the months, the weeks, the days, the hours leading up to the attack. What was and wasn't done during the attack. And if it's true, as some people have claimed, that there were no military assets available to save the lives of 4 Americans, why not?
Right.
You don't have to be a novelist. You don't have to even have the experience that I had back. I'll give you the example. Achille Lauro. Took Ronald Reagan 45 minutes to make a decision as to what to do about the hijackers who'd hijacked the cruise ship, murdered an American citizen, Leon Klinghoffer, thrown him in his wheelchair over the side of the ship. Took 45 minutes for him to make the decision. It took 40 minutes for the United States Navy to intercept the airplane and bring him down and force him to land in Sigonella. Now, what has changed?
I agree, Colonel. And the problem I've had, spending years in the Secret Service, being consumers of intelligence, not producers, is, these products are done by professionals. The men and women of the Central Intelligence Agency are dedicated patriots. Now, they produce a work product that, as you know, has been vetted at multiple levels by the time it gets to the DNI. Now, the DNI, their office, is nothing compared to the Secret Service. It's actually a relatively new position, as we all know. he just overrides 6, 7 to 10 different levels of vetting within the intelligence community that came to this conclusion. Again, apparently so is right. And you wonder, again, it just opens the door. Was that a strictly political decision, and what was he basing his analysis on?
No, I think all those are valid questions, Dan. But my point is, the bigger questions are being ignored by members of Congress.
I couldn't agree more.
And those things, there's a lot happening. In case they haven't noticed in Washington. I mean, I know we do because we're in the news business, but maybe they haven't noticed as they're getting ready to book their flights to get out of town. There's a war going on in the Middle East. Israel is being bombarded daily. They are firing back. A terrorist blew up a bus as I was getting on the plane in New York to fly back down here this morning. This kind of thing is being advocated by jihadis all over the globe ever since Benghazi, by the way. Since Benghazi, you've got Al-Qaeda and Islamic Jihad. And I've got history with Islamic Jihad. I don't want to scare anybody from coming to the book signings today. They tried to kill my wife and kids, right? They sent 7 terrorists to our house in February of 1987 to kill my wife and my children. That's Islamic Jihad that's now running things in what we call the Gaza Strip. That's the same crowd. Now, I look at what's happening out there right now, and I say to myself, since Benghazi, you've had advocacy, what they call the martyr messages, going out encouraging young people to blow themselves up trying to kill Jews and Americans. And all that's because they can claim over Benghazi that we've driven this is from their propaganda organs. We've driven the Americans out of Iraq. We're driving them out of Afghanistan. We've burned their embassies in 3 countries and killed their ambassador. We've torn down their flag and burned it. If you kill them, they will run. That's been 10 times more since Benghazi than it was beforehand. Why? Because this administration, for whatever reason, has decided to cozy up to radicals and Iran, which is behind the whole thing, and not do what's got to be done. And that's why I say I did not understand that this was all going to be happening when I wrote this book, but it's all right there.
Well, you seem to be, sort of have a crystal ball there. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, host of War Stories on Fox News Channel. The name of the book is called Heroes Proved. 2 book signings today, one at the Costco in Leesburg and one at the Costco at Winchester at 5 o'clock. The one in Leesburg's at 1.
And they're all listening to you, brother. You have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Dan, you too.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Are you a stuffing or a dressing guy?
I am a game bird stew guy.
There you go.
Now, Betsy's going to fix the turkey and the stuffing and all that, and I love turkey gravy.
All right, Ollie.
I make a game bird stew that's great.
And I'd like to have some of that. All right, Ollie. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving.